Hello and welcome to your look at the week ahead with Dukascopy TV. I'm joined by Pantehon Economics Chief Eurozone Economist to look at some of the key Euro data coming up this week. Welcome, Claus. UK GDP is released on Wednesday. What do you expect to see?
Well, I'm not that much far out from the consensus. You know, it's probably going to be a pretty strong number year on year, about 3%. Again, one of the key points of the UK economy really now is that it is growing strongly as one of the only economies in the European Union. So I think that, you know, and the GDP figures will confirm this. The economy in the United Kingdom is on an altogether more solid footing than in the Eurozone. And that benefits the Eurozone to a large extent because the UK is a strong importer of Eurozone goods. So while in the UK there's a lot of worry about how a slowing Eurozone economy is going to affect, the UK economy, actually, from the point of view of the Eurozone, it's very positive that the UK economy is growing as strongly as it is, because that's really helping export growth in the Eurozone. So, I expect a solid number. I expect more or less in line with the consensus. Perhaps I believe that private consumption is probably going to be a little bit stronger, and then fixed capital formation perhaps a little bit weaker than the consensus. But again, that's just a sort of minor details. I think it's going to be a strong number.
What else for you will be a big market mover over the coming week?
Well, there are a couple. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of a quiet week because the U.S. Guys are turkey stuffing from the middle of this week, so that's going to be a little bit quiet. But actually, in Europe, we have quite a bit of data. I looked at money supply, which is out this week, which is out on Thursday. Especially narrow money supply in the Eurozone is an important leading indicator. So, and not many people look at that, but this is definitely one of the indicators that I tend to look a little bit more at in detail. We also have inflation data in the Eurozone, which again will be scrutinized very closely. I think the key point here is that that core inflation has now become the key story, whereas 3 to 6 months ago. In the last 3 to 6 months, I'd rather say, it was the headline inflation and how low oil prices are going to go. In some sense, you're still going to have a very significant drag from low energy prices, but the ECB has now expressed significant worry about low core inflation, and Draghi's comment last week clearly state that he's getting worried about not so much the volatility in headline inflation, but more so the fact that core inflation is now being driven down by weak demand. In some sense, this is the first thing we've seen, or sort of this is the first sign we've seen from Draghi that he's worried about weak demand feeding into low inflation and that explicit link. So again, the conclusion is the market is going to be very sensitive to core inflation reading in Germany on Thursday and then in the Eurozone on Friday. And so that's one of the things I'm looking out for. Otherwise, we have a slew of data. We have the sentiment data coming out on Thursday as well, which is also important to look for. And, of course, household consumption and retail sales in France and Germany on Friday, which will be the first real economic data we get from the fourth quarter. And that's always interesting to see how that stacks up against the sentiment data, which has been actually decent so far, but good sentiment data is one thing. We need strong data from the economy as well.
Thank you for joining us. That's it for today. Keep with Dukascopy for your economic news.